Someone not be here.
Okay. They're just. Here, yes. All right, this is the Public Art Advisory Committee, Tuesday, December 10th, 2024 at 5:15 p.m. This is a hybrid meeting. The public may join us at Brisbane City Hall in the large conference room, 50 Park Place, or they may join us via Zoom. Roll call. Okay, Chair Glassman.
Here.
Vice Chair Greenlee.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cunningham.
Here.
Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Park and Recreation Commissioner Sewell is absent. Committee Member Salmon.
Here.
Committee Member Kelstead.
Here. So do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And, so I have a motion to approve the minutes from our November 18th meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I wanted to. Actually, kind of a slight addendum real quick before we get into like our discussion items that. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to Karen for everything you have done for this committee and from getting it, getting it up and running to the point where we are about to, we've made our first commission. We're about to move forward with our master plan. And so thank you for everything that we've done.
Thank you. I second that.
I'm not going anywhere, you guys. I'll be here.
Maybe sooner than you think.
The applications are open. Okay, so, our first item for discussion is our draft of the 9-dots master plan.
It looks like they're trying to sign now.
Here she goes.
Oh, no, please.
Hello. You can all see me and hear me now? Okay. Karen, I was clapping for you as well. Well, thank you. Nice to see you all. Unfortunately, Molly cannot join tonight, so it's just me you get, and I will relay any feedback to her. So it sounds like you all had a chance to review our recommendations. So I'll go through them at a high level, and then I think we'll pause and have discussion after each one. Let me just do a share screen here. Okay, share. You all can see this okay? Should I do a zoom in?
We can see.
Looks great.
Okay. Awesome. Well, first we kind of have this overview page just to let you know about some of these key priorities. And, really to orient us, I want to go back a step to the locations that we discussed last time we all got together. So you know that we're prioritizing the entry points and gateways, parks and trails, the skate park, and having this exciting rotating mural program, Sierra Point and the Ridge, neighborhood pop-up installations, and then some integration with the Baylands development. And so I bring that up just to say that these recommendations are to help build on those location plans so that you not only know in what locations you're starting, but what other kinds of programming could happen in those locations in order to build out this more holistic program. The other thing I want to highlight just before we get into them is that you'll probably notice we recommended these in about 3, 6, and 10-year timelines. And so some of the 6 to 10-year priorities or recommendations, they're a little ambitious, right? And we did that intentionally so that you all could see maybe big picture, what are some ideas. But, this is your plan, so, you are not going to hurt our feelings at all if you say, no, that's not a good idea, or no, we don't have capacity for that, or no, we want to change it. We can also change those timelines as well. So I will go through these at a high level and then we'll just kind of have some discussion. So the first is related to community engagement opportunities. As you all know, the primary way for folks to engage with public art at the moment is to attend these meetings virtually or in person. And so these recommendations were designed to really build on that, especially because we know how tight-knit your community is and how invested folks are. So in these recommendations, we're really saying, use the public art landing page as a way to communicate all that's going on, and then disseminate that via your other channels to really get people to be aware and let them know how they can participate. We also saw a lot of great success with the digital survey. And so doing something like that where they can vote on a potential public art project or vote on artist proposals like we went through last time when we talked about the process. Those are both really great ways to get folks involved. And then another tool that we haven't talked about with you all specifically, but we've seen work in other cities, is to have sort of a network, and it can be informal, of public art minded folks. Even the community group that Molly and I met with, months ago now, back when we were in Brisbane. I mean, those folks clearly care. And so, we want them to serve as sort of like ambassadors to be able to tell others about what's going on and how they can get involved. Then in the 4 to 6 year timeline, we're thinking about coordinating with other events so that any city event has some kind of art component. As well as hosting a community art competition. Even the temporary mural program at the skate park could serve as that. In more of the 10-year timeline, we're looking at something like an art walk to get folks involved and help them understand what's all included in Brisbane's public art collection, especially once we get 10 years down the road. As well as a community art grant, a mentorship program, and making sure that those sort of art-minded folks, or these ambassadors, we call them, are included in some of these Baylands meetings, especially given that they'll probably wanting to be doing some community outreach if they're smart, those private developers. So I'll stop talking. Any feedback here?
Oh, I had something on the 4 to 6 years. The last bullet point, coordinate with relevant individuals and organizations to ensure every city officiated event has a community art making component led by a local artist or organization. I would just say, like, we do so many events that I think that's like, to say every is a little bit ambitious. I would say like, quarterly maybe, or
Great.
twice a year.
Where relevant.
That was my
or-
comment too. That was your comment also.
Mine as well.
Yeah, cause
Yeah,
like,
relevant.
we could have like a coyote workshop or whatever, and it's like, is someone doing,
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
instead of specifying like a specific number or whatever, but just like where relevant.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because, not every event.
Occasional.
Just say to ensure city officiates event, coordinate with relevant organizations to ensure.
Which is
Yeah.
pretty
Any
appreciated.
of the events have a community art component.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
someone could, Festival Lights could be a good one, or Day in the
Mhm.
Park, or,
Yeah.
and it could rotate so that you get like different art inspired by different
Right.
events that we tend to have.
Yeah.
So,
We had an artist at the Festival of Lights this time.
Yeah.
Deanna was there.
Yeah.
It was great.
good.
Yeah.
The whole festival.
Well, and I,
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
I didn't know
It is.
Danny Ames was an artist, but
Yeah.
he made
But
the,
this is,
right,
this
the
this is
stars.
specifically art making though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like this bullet point is specifically about like an art making component.
Process, like,
Yeah.
Meaning it's
Yeah.
participatory,
In,
Yeah.
yeah,
meaning
Correct,
that
yeah.
whatever's there is participatory.
right, yeah. That was just my little comment, just the word every,
Yeah.
I think we could just loosen it up a little bit.
Sure.
You can say on many, because you will be held to it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, my comment is on the art ambassadors and the rotation of like. They should rotate every 3 to 5 years, that seems like an awfully long commitment to ask somebody to make. Especially since on the, like we're just on the committee where the community members, our terms are a single year.
No,
Sure.
2
For
years.
2 years.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking that like the 3 to 5 years for, the,
Ambassadors.
yeah, for the
Yeah.
arts ambassadors, that might be asking a little bit too much
Mhm.
from.
And maybe we could just say rotate regularly or
Yeah.
You know,
There you go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
timeline to be determined.
Also, I don't know if like how many individuals, because,
Yeah.
we have such a small population.
Right.
We have a lot of artists per capita, but like not all of them are gonna, it's not like there's that many where there's a huge batch that.
Community involvement.
So I don't know that we would say, like, we should identify how many individuals.
Yeah.
God, it would be so nice that they would want to, I'm assuming that the people, these ambassadors would have to go to. Get a little, orientation, give a lot of their time and be called
Mhm.
upon, so, I don't think we need to say how many. It would be,
Sure.
it's nice for them to do it.
Yeah, no, if they're,
Keep
especially
it
if they're not
informal.
paid. Like, if it's.
Keep it informal and flexible.
Mhm.
Yep. Can even massage this language a bit to
Okay.
reflect that.
I mean, I do love in the 7 to 10, and I saw this in a couple of places about, things like the community art grant and the mentorship program under the 7 to 10 year goals, and I really love those. That long-term,
Commitment.
Yeah.
commitment to like, not only, having the art pieces up, but also fostering more of kind of an arts community within
Yeah.
the city.
Yeah.
And I really like that component.
Okay, shall I move on?
Yes,
Okay, so the second priority is about increasing and formalizing, I'd say is the keyword here, temporary and educational public art projects. So this is very much interrelated with community activities. But we know you've got the stars, the fire hydrants, like there's so much that happens organically already. But when we were there, we heard a lot about the dragon at the skate park, right? And I think it's so neat how there's so much discussion around that, and it's like highly debated, right? That's what public art should be. People should be talking about it, but is it part of your collection? And so this whole section is kind of help give some guidance around that and ensure that there's still room for that like organic and really creative community activated art to happen, just maybe more on a temporary basis. So within 1 to 3 years, we want to come up with more of a definition around what is included in the public art collection and what is temporary or pop-up, because it's still included, right? But maybe not long-term. We also thought about piloting a pop-up art series that will engage the community, especially in those core themes that came up during our community engagement and that are part of the art selection criteria. So that's really your small town charm, natural environment, the artistic spirit, and then having this very connected community. Here we've got the rotating mural program for the skate park. We want to install more fire hydrants in newer developments like Sierra Point and the Ridge. So those two directly go along with the location plans we had shared last time. And then this other one is a little bit of a more exciting goal that I don't know if we've all talked about specifically, but it was in the initial RFP that we actually applied for about having some kind of artist in residence program. And so within 1 to 3 years, it would be more about setting up that structure, right? And getting it to an organized place where you could earmark funds and roll it out later.
A question, well, you haven't seen this room in person, but we like have a rotating exhibit in this conference room, so would this be like a place where you maybe? I'm not familiar with how a lot of artists in residence things are structured, but like creating an exhibit for City Hall, like would that be? No,
Yeah.
or they're working like they're.
I think we need to be clear on what artist in residency actually, the understanding of, or the definition of what this artist in residency, because it could mean anything from going into a public school and teaching elementary school children to doing workshops. And the length can be, anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months or whatever, or longer. So I think we need to have a definition of what we feel artisan residency means.
Yeah, but I also, this is just, in the plan, this is just, that's part of what this
The goal.
1 to 3 year is to develop.
Come up with
Come up
that.
with that.
So I don't
Okay.
think it needs to be-
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it
All right.
doesn't
Yeah.
have.
Okay.
Plan and design.
Agreed.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm okay then.
And just to give, an idea, what we've been seeing a lot of cities do that's really neat is having an artist in residence that isn't dedicated to like a specific space. So they don't come in and work at a school for, 3 days a week. It's really about taking inspiration from the city as a whole. And then maybe they'll do a few community art making activities and you really promote those as community-wide events. And at the end of their residency, their art is displayed somewhere for say, 2 to 3 months. But it's not a dedicated space.
I think
Yeah,
that'd be
I mean,
awesome.
I've
Yeah.
applied for community-based
Yeah.
artists in residence where it's like, you tell them kind of, what you do, what you're planning to do as far as community outreach and, it's like, it can be any length of time, but, so I think that's great.
And you get a
idea.
stipend to do that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, usually, I
I
mean,
mean,
it
that's,
depends on
that's
how.
kind of part
like,
of,
if we're
that's part of what
focusing-
we're doing here. is
Yeah, I mean, if
giving
we're
a stipend.
focusing local, we don't have to worry about, providing enough money for somebody to live,
Right,
but just like.
but that would be all discussed in the.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's-
because it could be someone.
cause I
else.
think that would be a great way to support the arts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then leaving something behind that becomes part of the permanent collection.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the next two boxes here kind of build on those initial goals. We've got integrating with educational programming. So maybe there's certain projects that could be on display that some of the youth are doing, as well as field trips to public art installations. Then formalizing this pop-up series by hosting an annual competition in which community members can submit their own artwork for display. And Madison, I think, the room you're in is a great idea. I know the library would also be another wonderful place to showcase some work. By this point, you'll have chosen a new mural for the skate park. And then within 4 to 6 years, the idea would be to pilot that first artist in residence program. And maybe that's something that you can do even sooner, right? But no pressure. Within 10 years, we're designating a temporary art zone. This is another one of those lofty goals that we thought, let's drop that in there and see what they think about that and where that might live. We've got another mural for the skate park, expanding the fire hydrants, and then expanding the artist in residence program, maybe by securing more long-term funding or making it, growing it out to even regional artists and not just local folks. Any thoughts here? And you can feel free to say, no, I don't think we want to do a temporary art zone, or I don't know where that would live,
I think it's,
I think that'd be cool.
yeah.
They do too.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so we'll move on to parks and trails. I won't elaborate too much on this one because it's very similar to what we talked about in the location planning, incorporating a lot of sort of identification type of artwork to let you know, like you are on the Crocker Trail, right? And you are part of the Brisbane Trail Network, wherever you are. And then also integrating that with some of these community activities to make sure people are using the trails and really admiring the new art that's along them. So within 1 to 3 years, you're going to unveil the new San Benito Public Art Stairway project, expanding fire hydrants into Sierra Point and the Ridge. And then we'd like to make sure there's some earmarked funds for these discovery and functional art. So I know when Molly shared the location plans last time, we talked about maybe sculptures being a little bit of a later date. So we just want to make sure that funding is available for those. And then in 4 to 6 years, thinking, really looking at this trail over the next 3, 6, and 10 years to say, where are the places along the trail that we want to make sure to have art? And even collaborating with a couple of business owners to help select and install a building on the facade of the trail. Sorry, select and install a mural, not a building.
I was like,
where
are we going with
Yeah,
this?
not a building. And then in 10 years, we want to make sure that functional art is there for benches, rails, installing and unveiling a sculpture in one of the more widely used parks, expanding the fire hydrants program to be integrated with Baylands, and then hosting a community walking tour or scavenger hunt along the trail to admire this new art.
That's fun, that's fun.
Very good idea.
I will just say that like, expanding, I think the hydrants is a collaborative effort with North County Fire, so they've always let us do like previously painted hydrants, but sometimes you have to get approval for new hydrants from them, so I would just say that, you know, like, I think that's a good goal, but like that, that hinges on them letting that happen.
Can we also maybe add in, I mean, fire hydrants are great. Is there a big no on utility boxes?
Yes.
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
already looked at that.
Why? No.
They're not city owned.
They're not
Oh.
by us, so,
Okay,
yeah.
darn. South City does them.
Those are like peachy.
Their
yeah,
boxes,
yeah.
not the PG&E boxes.
Yeah.
We don't have any of our own boxes around town, none.
Mhm.
Wow, okay.
It's too bad.
Yeah,
I mean, that could be the case at the Baylands, like, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that there's one thing, just thinking about all of this that I'm not hearing. And I just want to throw this out and put it on the table is, I think with everything else we do, Youth Advisory Committee, Youth Volunteer of the Year, is our encouragement for people who are talented in one way or another. The Youth Advisory Committee people, you know, they're very community driven and, you know, going off to Harvard and doing all of these great things. There's other kids in the community who are dancing. There's all of that. And I'm not feeling that we have that piece in here, that we are.
But I don't-
encouraging.
Can you-
The art committee.
Hmm?
We, like how would we
I don't know, but I'm just saying,
include
when there
them?
are really talented kids in our school that are
Oh,
identified.
Oh, you mean having
to
kids
include-
in,
Having a
involved.
program
Okay, I was
also
missing.
encourage
Yeah.
I would think that would be in the community engagement.
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah, so I
Absolutely.
haven't seen it definitively identified, and I would like to see that.
Maybe in the
because
community.
leaders of tomorrow are the children of today,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that's, you
Making
know, when
sure-
we have involved Youth Advisory Committee and stuff in the last few years, there's been some extraordinary things that have come out of that.
wouldn't the Youth Advisory Committee also be the ones who would be involved to help make sure that when there was community involvement on these issues, that they would,
I don't know,
I'm
I'm just
saying,
bringing it up. It's
is that
not
a
in here.
partnership?
Yeah.
It's not in here.
Yeah, maybe.
No, those are great comments, and I think someone mentioned this, so we should absolutely add that into this community engagement priority.
Yeah, yeah.
As well as the temporary and educational public art projects.
There you go.
Hey, can I?
I completely did not, my brain did not process anything that was just said.
So say that
So,
again.
yeah.
Olivia?
I was just saying, we can definitely add some language around youth involvement in the community art or the community engagement opportunities
Right,
and the public, the temporary and educational art projects.
Right.
because so often, a talented child exposes themselves to their family at age 2 or 3. And so you know that there is some of that talent, but the kids that don't have support within the families to be able to bring that stuff out might
Mm.
come up at school. I just want to be able to tap into.
At
those
any
things
age.
that-
At any
age, yeah.
But
As soon as
Exposure
possible.
to the
Yeah.
art at any age.
Even it says like host an annual community art competition, like one could be
Yeah.
youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every so often it could be a youth focus, like a only youth apply.
Mhm.
What is the
or-
16 to 24-year-old outreach we're doing right now?
Yeah, young development.
Yeah.
Or it's like develop a network of arts advocates, like, you know,
Mm,
that could
yeah,
be
that would be-
like. And it doesn't have to necessarily be, you know, arts advocate, doesn't have to be artists, could be.
Right.
Oh, it could
Or an
be
yeah,
youngsters, it could be,
Yeah.
well,
BDW could be an
yeah,
entity,
but
like,
like, you know,
You
just
mean
not
visual,
plastic art.
right.
Youth advisory committee could be an advocate,
That's what I'm saying,
BDW
yeah.
could be an advocate.
So I think she's right when she says, let's put it in the very first priority, the overarching.
Yeah.
So that it
Use
can,
them
it
up.
becomes important and then it gets filtered into each section,
Yeah,
that it
Definitely.
becomes something to include.
and maybe by discussing it with that youth committee, we can see what they would be interested in.
And some of these things, like what I found is that some years you have kids that are just like fit the bill, right? And when they get to high school, they get into all these different things and then like they're not as engaged in Brisbane anymore. They're focused on high school, they're focused on sports, they're focused on whatever they're doing in high school to like get into college. And we've been fortunate to have like a really successful YAC and a lot of people volunteering, but it's like, we don't always have a youth volunteer of the year, you know, there's, sometimes it's, I don't wanna say slim pickings, but sometimes it's just like, there isn't somebody that fits necessarily. So you wanna leave totally the opportunity available when there is somebody there, but it's like, you know, every year there may not be an opportunity for something youth related just because the interest might not be there. But as long as it's like, you know, like we continually solicit youth volunteer of the year applications, we should continue to solicit, you know, opportunities for the youth to participate in arts, and if they take it, they take it, if they don't, they don't.
Mhm.
Can I also throw something out there? And this is very pie in the sky. Because of, on the Park and Rec facilities. We have a facility, you know, in the middle of our town, the old library.
Oh, yeah.
And it came up the other day in our art group. We have an informal crafting art group about, wouldn't it be if some of that space could be made usable as an artist space, you know, a community
As
artist.
long as
space.
soon as they get the water to not run through the
I
electricity.
understand
So,
all of
Ruth.
it. This is very pie in the sky.
No, it shouldn't be pie in the sky. It should be addressed.
Okay, yeah, but I'm
Is
just
that in
saying,
addition to the makerspace that's in
the
the,
makerspace in the library is not
Is it
set
not?
up
Oh.
for walking and
That's a
making art.
library, there's an
Okay.
interesting.
yeah.
Because I've tried to do stuff there before and they said, oh no, we can't make a mess in here. You have to use,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's like,
Oh.
and we need a space that kids could make a mess, artists could make a
Yeah.
mess. It could be more of a rough space, and I think that space in particular might be available in the future. I would just
I
like to
agree.
put it out there as an
I agree
idea.
with you
It
one
could
hundred
be
percent.
drop-in
I
space.
know,
It
wouldn't
does
that be
for lots of
wonderful
things.
for lots of things?
For,
And it's kind of a rough space.
It doesn't need titivating.
Yes, it doesn't
Mhm.
need to be beautiful,
No,
but some place where you could get in
Just
there
to
and,
be a place for
yeah, a
people to
place.
do.
That's what's
Absolutely.
left.
So,
Okay.
so
Glad
in
it-
terms of what, like this document,
Mhm.
where do you wanna put it? And.
Develop, something we could develop as a
So, like-
city, a new artist
a way to
space.
use.
So under,
the
just under
space
the first priority, like the
Yeah, where does it
46-year goal or 7 to 10 year goal.
Well,
develop
depending on that
dedicated-
building, right now, it's
It's a
again,
7 to 10 year goal.
it's a 7 to 10 year
Yeah.
goal, but
Yeah,
I
It
don't
may
know if
be-
any of these funds could be used to make that happen, no?
yeah,
Okay,
they can.
No,
but
So
they
I
could
don't
make the
know.
programs
and I don't
happen.
wanna make it,
But then they
For
can make
that.
a loca, they could
they
be a
could be a
location.
residency that happens.
Could they be a
Yes.
location
But that's the
for
point,
those
but not to
programs
do
to
that.
happen?
To redo the place.
No, 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 no,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, could
It
we
may
think about
happen-
that space?
It may
Yeah,
happen
there-
that that space ends up being at the Valence, at the Roundhouse.
Exactly.
Like, it may
Yeah.
end up
Yeah.
that space
That's what
is
I'm
not
saying,
in
yeah.
central
Oh,
Brooklyn.
I
But
love
to-
that idea.
But to
I love
make it
that
a
idea.
priority, to put it in our vision of wanting to have a space.
Yes, I
it's
think
important.
a vision of of an artist studio space for the community, that's what I'd like to see.
And
as a
that could
vision.
be where the
Or else
artist
talk
in
to the
residence has. the
Library and
space.
say, you know, maker spaces get dirty. That's kind of an interesting thing.
I mean, there's gotta be like.
Okay, I don't know where to
So,
go with that.
yeah, so is that something?
I
that
know,
we
that's
need
why I
to-
like the old library, yeah.
Is that something that we want? Cause it's not within the purview of,
Right.
of the committee and what our funds can
It
do.
might be something that,
Absolutely,
it might be
exactly.
something that we work on in Park and Rec,
Yeah.
but I would just
Okay.
like this community to know. As our art advisory committee, that would be something that I think we should work on.
I've been
we
talking
could
about that a
be-
lot.
Well, that would be, yeah, and that would be within the residency sections maybe, or once
Maybe.
it's,
Yeah,
I mean, I think there's a lot there that's exciting, but there's the roof has to be fixed so that when it rains, it doesn't.
Well, this
pour water
wouldn't
through the
mean
apartment.
like a specific location. This would be like our goal is in some
Yes.
10 years.
Identify a
space.
space.
Identify a space.
okay, so that could be under
Sure.
priority, under priority one.
Yeah.
7 to
Identify a
10-year goal,
dedicated
identify a
Dedicated
dedicated
space.
art making space.
Art making space. That's good.
That would be fantastic.
I know, because there are a lot of groups.
My husbands would really like us. to
Like
do
our,
that.
like we did, like our crafting
Our
group,
husbands
our
would like
crafting
us.
group meets once a month in a studio that's going away. And we're thinking, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be great if the city had some place where people could just meet and there would be tools and there would be supplies and maybe just, you know,
You could get stuff donated, like
Yeah.
you could like go to scrap
yeah.
every once in a while and be like, what are you,
It'd fill
what are you
up
trying to get
like
rid
a
of over
bunch.
here, or.
You could have kids
You're on a scrap
classes,
field
anyway.
trip.
Okay.
All right, let's move on.
That
Let's,
really-
let's,
yeah, that-
let's
that-
move
that's
on.
it.
Yeah.
So so just to confirm, I'm hearing you right, within this community engagement section, in about 1 to 3 years, we want to say that we will identify a dedicated art making space.
7
And I-
7 to 10.
Oh, and 7 to 10, just identify. Okay,
Yeah.
Yep.
okay.
Just because we know it's gonna be kind of an uphill battle.
And if you do, we do it
Not
earlier,
gonna
then
be
we do it
better,
early.
it's just-
Right.
Maybe in this 4 to 6 year frame, and we could do earlier if you think so. It's more about starting the conversation with, I think you said Parks and Rec was the department?
Yeah.
Or, okay,
Well, I just think that we're kind of the umbrella recreational space, we have facilities. And I'm not sure if any of the facilities we have right now would fit the bill, but I'd love to have the conversation, you know? So. Because I think it could birth a lot of programs and.
Look, there might be a commercial space that somebody says, hey, I've got extra space. You
Absolutely,
guys
that's what I'm
wanna
saying, yeah.
turn it into
Yeah.
a studio, who
Yeah.
knows?
Right, it's very exciting.
Especially if you throw the carrot out there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also may be possible that at some point Silver Spot's not in their building, and that building was formerly a rec center, and it's a city-owned
And we own
building.
it, yep.
So.
So, I mean, if we've got it in the plans.
Yeah,
I mean,
so it's on the
it's
radar.
there,
Makes
so
it
it can be
come
on
to
the, it can be
discussion.
on the radar.
And
Yeah,
I'll throw
absolutely.
it out to Park and Rec too.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll put it on our radar also. But how does this community, because this is a fund and how does this community, this table support that idea?
Well, they could,
Materials?
that's, with-
Materials, yeah.
or, well, no, residencies.
Residency.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say. like, what
Classes,
does-
maybe.
what does-
Classes.
Yeah, what does come under, what does come
Residence,
under our purview
Educational.
is if we're doing art residencies, that there's
Yeah.
a, there's
I
a
like that.
space for an artist to actually work.
Yeah,
Okay,
And-
that's
and
that's
place
exciting.
to
Then
show
now I
your-
see where that
Yeah.
designation is.
Classes.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Or even, just like,
temporary exhibits.
yeah, exhibits.
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, it's all there.
I wanted to go back to the priority
Yes.
three. Cause there is
Sure.
one thing, there is one thing on here under that I think needs to be under the, within 1 to 2 years. And that is that I think we do actually need to develop a policy about temporary work that people put on the trails. That at what point, like, does it become something that the city has to maintain? Like, I think there's a discussion that needs to happen around
Yeah.
this about whether or
About
not,
maintenance.
yeah, about
Owners.
maintenance, the same thing, like.
Or
know,
guidelines.
So you put
And guidelines.
something temporary up,
Yeah.
that people really love it. Does it then become something that the city needs to take on? And I'm just saying that within 1 to 3 years, this is a discussion to
Mhm.
develop a policy, because the other issue, and this is something that I noticed, like this past year, is that there are the temporary things, and then there are also things that are like, is that actually an art installation, or is that somebody dumping garbage? You know, that it's like, is it, you know, so it's like, I think that there needs to be something in this plan about, you know, if we're accommodating temporary community developed artwork on the trails or within the city. Like, what do we have a policy for as far as who has to maintain it? What's the policy about,
Permission.
like, how long does it get to be up? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't wanna
length.
get needlessly, I don't wanna
Yeah.
get needlessly pedantic about it. But at the same time,
The conversations
Personally-
come up.
yeah.
Personally, I don't think that Parks and Trails is where it goes, because I think that, like, it could be all kind, we could have temporary art all kinds of places. And I think that,
Okay.
like, I don't wanna pigeonhole, like, I think we need a policy for that, and
For
it,
temporary.
also, we
temporary,
need to
yeah.
develop the policy for people who, corporations, right, who have a piece and they move out of town, and what are we doing
Right.
with
Okay.
gifting? And I think that that's part of that.
Then that should be under,
Conversation
then that
too.
should be under priority two.
Oh, okay.
Which is,
Yeah, so-
yeah, I was thinking.
Under-
specific-
Under priority two around temporary art, you can see the first, suggestion we have is really specifying what's included in that, and I just made some notes for myself, guidelines and scoring. So I think within 1 to 3 years, it is critical that you have a policy, to your point, about what's included and how to keep things organic and still really encourage that. Even, putting something on your public art website and having this ambassador network, encourage it, but say, hey, there are some parameters around it. And just like when we went through the process for selecting art, we did not show you these at the time, but we have a score sheet that will literally allow you to score, to vet the artist proposal against those art selection criteria and against the new mission and vision. And so the idea would be that you would vet this temporary or, organic piece that comes up against those same criteria. And then you could give it sort of a timeline around, do we want to allow this to stay up for 2 months, a year, depending on materials and all of that. But we do have a whole maintenance section of this plan where we're gonna get into, what does it mean if a developer moves away?
Because,
and what does it-
Andy would be very, wanting to know those particulars, Mr. Goldsworthy.
Are we gonna be commissioning?
Right.
Oh,
something every
please,
day?
that would be so awesome. People would come
That's
from all
my-
over.
That's my pie in the sky.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, 4, are we on priority 4?
Yes, we are on 4.
Thank you.
So this is getting that back to that really strong desire for some gateway iconic pieces. So in our last conversation, we had the one sort of iconic piece, and I think Madison, you had pointed out, let's make sure we include plans for another more iconic piece at that northeast entry, especially as the Baylands gets developed out. So we'll want to work that into here as well, but really within 1 to 3 years, we're starting the artist call and the entire selection process for the first entryway piece, as well as identifying 3 to 5 local businesses whose buildings might be interested in hosting public art murals. Then in 4 to 6 years, we're building on the momentum of the entryway piece by implementing another large scale piece. Perhaps here we could even dedicate this as that northeast entry. Collaborating with 2 to 3 businesses to select and install a mural on their building facing the Crocker Trail. So that's directly related to the other parks and trails priority. And then making sure that we're having regular meetings, and this goes with the next priority as well, with developers of the Baylands, so that they see this public art plan and they understand just how integrated we want to be in making sure that the Brisbane character is still reflected. In 7 to 10 years, this is an exciting one that we heard someone mention when we were on our tour about having that mural program with local businesses expand even on her rooftop, so that when you're up hiking, you're seeing something really beautiful even from up above. It would be super exciting, I think. Yep. And then back to this Baylands, in 7 to 10 years, they've got a Baylands website. I would love to see their sort of art location plan, right? Like, even if things aren't being developed or built for another 20 years, it would be great for folks to be able to go to their website and see exactly where art is going to be integrated, so that we're starting to build that goodwill, community buy-in, and making sure that there's really that integration. Any notes on this one? It sounds like there's some excitement for the rooftop murals.
Yeah, well, it's really cool. I fly out of SFO so often, and so often our planes fly so low over our city that from a plane,
you can see our rooftops in that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to know what artwork I want on top of the building or that the planes can say.
I don't know.
She wants to see a finger, but we can't say
Yeah,
that.
or, you know, I don't know, something aesthetically pleasing of naked people frolicking or something that, you know.
They
not
would
everybody
come
wants
all
to
the
see.
time.
That's why I love over that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like rooftops are really difficult, but,
Yeah.
it's a nice to have a goal, but I mean, most of them have these huge HVACs. Now we have solar, like, it's just, there's no
I think
space
it's a
for
lot
that
of money
stuff.
to invest in like
Well, things are gonna be walked around.
a second of
Yeah.
pleasure.
But it's worth a conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No,
There's
absolutely.
also things that you
Yeah.
can, I was thinking about like the art walk that we did in London and with the street art. That there are all of these little mushrooms that are at the top, like the top corner, they're, you know, some of them
Yeah.
are pretty big. And they're like sneak art where like somebody has come in the middle of the night and put a mushroom up there. And it becomes kind of this game as you're walking through is to like see these things, you know, that's what I was thinking when you're talking about like rooftop art, not something that you actually have to
Yeah.
see above, like be above it to see it. But something that would be really surprising, like, oh, in the corner of a, you know, like a heart or.
Look at
a
that.
star
New
or-
Zealand does this
Yeah.
at Easter. They make Easter eggs like that, kind of this big, that look like different characters, and they hide them in places like,
Yeah.
and so kids will go, you know,
On an
throughout.
Easter egg.
Yeah, and they'll see, they can, and they'll mark them off.
Oh,
Their
That's a
list.
scavenger
And
hunt.
their
Yeah,
scavenger
that's
hunt, which I
fun.
think is like.
And
pretty
that
cool.
could be just for that day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they take them, you know, they take them down and put them back up.
That's
That's so fun. Okay, so maybe not even specifying that it'll be a, you know, mural, but just saying another kind of installation that can be viewed, you know, up from the hillsides or down below as this kind of fun discovery moment.
I agree.
Okay, great. All right, so our last priority really builds on, you know, a lot of what we've already discussed, which is strengthening these relationships with private developers. So within 1 to 3 years, we want to be sure we're sharing this finalized master plan with all those coming in, and you know, focus on some of these major projects. Hosting biannual meetings with those stakeholders to start, you know, building relationships, rapport. I think what we've seen with a lot of cities is, you know, you can't just share the master plan and then expect they're going to follow it, right? It's this,
Right.
you know, constant repetition of making sure they understand, you know, that this was really community informed. And so if they want the goodwill of residents, they should do their best to follow this. Then expanding the fire hydrants program. So that was in a couple of the other priority areas. And we even have here, you can hire an art consultant, and of course we're available should you wish to, you know, have more of a liaison between the city and then in 4 to 6 years, hopefully we're working with some private developers through that commission process. So in our last conversation, Molly went through both the city initiated process as well as the process for private developers. So it would be working with them through that flow chart. Collaborating with leaders from the Baylands to, like I said, get some art location plans into their overall site plans. Continue partnering with an art consultant if necessary. In 7 to 10 years, this is on the other one, ensuring that some of those potential art locations down the road are reflected on the Baylands website. Hosting temporary art installations for under construction areas. We've seen a lot of cool things happen like on scaffolding or fencing or artist pop-ups while construction is in progress to get people excited. And that can be really fun. And then, yeah, continued partnership if that's helpful. Any thoughts here?
I don't know if this is just me, when it says for the, within 7 to 10 years, where it says host temporary art installations. I would like for it to say discuss or explore partnerships.
Okay, yeah.
Or temporary, because I don't know if the committee wants to be able to consistently put funds into something while someone's building something. I'm thinking of the Baylands. It would be great if something's being built, that whoever's building it says in partnership with us, we will also help support this. That's what I
But
mean,
not just us.
not just the
Yeah,
committee.
they could make.
Do you know what I
their
mean? I'm not saying it
houses around
shouldn't happen.
fences Pretty or
Yeah, I'm just
something.
saying they could be actively in
Involved.
helping, involved.
Yeah.
So that's, I would like to, instead of host, put the word create partnerships, or
Definitely.
whatever that is.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
When you sort of think about when a building is going up, there is opportunity for temporary
Yeah.
art all over those chain link fences.
Mhm.
There is, if they're gonna,
Absolutely.
Hide something.
whatever,
Mhm.
temporary murals on
The
the
netting.
wood and the
The
netting and whatever, there's 1,000 things.
Mhm.
Olivia, I'm gonna share a couple of things with you. That I put some stuff together personally about my personal vision for the Baylands. And in doing that, I went out and looked around the world at what things happened in developments. For example, a climbing wall was built under the freeway stanchions and all kinds of different things like that. So do you mind if I share that with you?
I love it. Share it. We love seeing stuff like that. Cause
Yeah.
we work with a lot of private developers who are like, help me
Right.
make this place look a little more appealing while it's under construction.
Yeah, I
So,
just think if we're looking at the priorities, so that this committee is not holding the bill,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that we're consistently, considering. Cause, ooh, that could go fast.
right. Well, and I like that point about explore partnerships, not just doing it yourself. And that's what this whole priority is about, is really building that rapport with them, demonstrating why this is important, and so that they start to take on some of that responsibility and ownership.
Right.
Mhm.
Great.
Just one comment for me on the within 4 to 6 years, support 3 to 5 private developers. I don't know if we want to include that number there because it's really contingent upon the applications that we get for development.
True.
Right.
So leaving that
Just say
open.
whatever.
Yeah,
development
support
happens.
private developers, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, the number.
Oh, you're right, thank you.
Yeah. And I think
Just glean.
ultimately, we have a lot in our fund right now, but again, we only are as good, who knows when we'll get another contribution, especially because a lot of businesses might want to commission art. That seems to have been the preference, that was a preference for Sangamo
Yep.
Until the last minute. And also phase 3. So I just think that if we were doing all of these things every year, we could run out of.
That's what I was
Yeah.
saying,
So I think
create
budget,
partnerships.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
for a budget, we should say when budget allows.
Yeah.
As a
Yeah.
caveat always.
Yep. And we can put some of that language around when budget allows in this overview slide, but I think we say somewhere in here, at the beginning of the year, these activities plus the location plan, that will help you say, okay, what are we gonna tackle this year, right? Based on funds that are earmarked.
Mhm, mhm.
Do we leave anything in here about, cause we talk about, new development. And new development is kind of the focus of, they either contribute to the fund or they do their own work. Do we want anything in here about maybe working with existing buildings, existing,
Property owners.
existing businesses, sorry, brain. God.
Mhm.
And working with existing businesses to encourage them, if they don't have art in their, in their spaces. Do we want to see if there's, putting into the plan, encouraging or developing relationships to
I
have.
thought that's what it was, even with the park, developing relationship with the people within the trails.
Mhm.
With Crocker.
I'll
but
make it
also-
more clear, both new and existing. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
we have the largest commercial developer in the world owns a very, very large portion of our commercial buildings in Brisbane. I kind of see a little bit of a pushback issue, non-interest from that perspective, unfortunately.
Hmm.
If these were all independently owned buildings, I think we'd have a different ability to approach, but when you're talking about the largest commercial developer in the world who at this point has not shown much interest in upgrading or aestheticizing, that's a word, any of their buildings, I'm not sure how to put
Yeah,
that
they
in
have
without.
stakeholders and share, you know.
But it's
sharing
okay
numbers,
because at
so.
least it becomes a discussion and becomes knowledge and community
Mhm.
active in terms.
Yeah,
you know,
it's 45% is owned by
Yeah, it's
one.
just, I think it's important to have the
Group.
conversations.
Yeah, just put it out there.
Who is the owner?
It-
No?
Yeah, all conversations don't succeed the way you want them to.
Prologis.
They don't always go the way one wants them to, but
Yeah.
they're there.
And if you're creating a culture in which, you know, it becomes normalized
To
for
have a conversation.
businesses to be.
Yeah.
You know, adding to, you know, public, art and public spaces, then it becomes a different conversation.
Yeah, I
I
mean.
mean, it creates other
yeah.
openings.
The last meeting we had with them, which was the first meeting that they've come to the table in 15 years. They were more open than I would have
There you go.
anticipated. But the door wasn't even open to crack, it was, oh. Oh,
Sure.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Step on.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So that doesn't mean anything, you know.
You know, slow drips of water eventually crack.
I'm just gonna put Joel in the same room with these guys, to see how you do.
But yeah.
I'm not saying it's not frustrating, it's just that it
Yeah.
happens, that's all.
Well, any other comments on some of these priorities?
I think they're really good.
Really
I think they're very.
I
well
love
thought
them.
out.
Thank you very much for
Yeah.
shepherding this and putting it
Yes.
together. It's
Yeah. Of
Wonderful, thank
course.
you.
We're getting really close with this and the locations and the process. We're getting really close. So we actually have the plan in the hands of our designer, and I can tell you it looks quite nice with all your city branding, and Noreen shared some great photographs that we're using. So next steps are Noreen and Angel will be reaching out and we can set up a meeting. But holidays are here and I don't know how that happened so quickly. So hopefully we'll be chatting with you next in January with a full plan.
Great.
Just one last question. Is there anything that you guys don't see covered in this, that you would have hoped to or have? I mean.
I
Like
think it's
before,
a good
before,
template. I think it's a good template.
Well, it's
I
gonna
don't-
become the.
I don't wanna
I
get.
just wanted to throw the question
Yeah.
out there and kind of.
Can we do some add things to it as
As
we
we
go?
go
It's
along,
not
yeah.
like it will be,
I think
This
it's a
isn't
good
grand.
umbrella.
it's a good
Yeah,
beginning.
I think some people are gonna wanna see more specific
Yeah,
things,
But that
but
was,
I think it's very important that we don't have
Yeah.
specific.
absolutely, because as it goes
Right.
along, these are priorities.
It's a living, yeah.
The other stuff comes,
Yeah, things
Comes
will
like that.
happen that we don't even,
it's a guidance
Oh, bless
document. It's not a roadmap.
right,
Correct.
exactly.
Yep. And just so, I mean, you've been seeing it kind of piecemealed, right? Because we want it to be digestible and not just give you, 100 pages, but you will see it all put together and hopefully at that point it feels, really comprehensive. So
Okay.
we're
Well,
getting there.
thank you. Fabulous.
Thank you
work.
all. I hope you have a
Thank
nice
you.
Tuesday night and a good holidays.
yes,
Yeah, you too.
nice holidays.
Okay, bye.
See you, Olivia. I'll send you that document.
Okay,
That
perfect.
wasn't
Thank
because
you.
I thought that there actually was anything that was missing. I just figured that I would
Yeah.
throw it out
Yeah,
there.
no,
to
it's
make
a
sure
good
that
thing to do. It's a
everybody-
good thing to do.
Okay. Okay, do we have any more discussion amongst ourselves? That needs to happen, or?
No, I'm just so glad that somebody else is putting this all together because it feels really organized. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's what we needed.
okay, so we're up to our update on first.
So if you haven't already seen, the art has been restored at First
Has
Park.
it?
Oh, nice.
Renovation is done,
Oh, I have to walk there.
finished, and
That's exciting.
just painted it like the Brisbane green for now. But both pieces are repaired and looking great. She got paid, so we can close,
She's happy about
close
that.
that loop. Yeah, but then that kind of begs the next question of what
What
we
else?
want, what the committee wants the next steps to be with those pieces, if we want to leave them as is. The last time we talked about it, there was some consensus around putting out an RFP and seeing if there's any artists, specifically local artists, who would be interested in kind of reimagining those pieces. So I wanted to just open the conversation. If that is the direction we want to move in, we need to identify what the timeline would be for the RFP, what type of budget the committee would want to propose, what the kind of overarching goals are. So that's where we're at. Are you looking for answers to all those questions right now, or are you
Yeah,
just looking
no, I think
for,
we
like,
have-
an interest in gauging our interest?
We can bring this back to a future meeting if that's
Yeah,
the
I
direction.
think that should be the meeting.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
That in
Yeah,
addition
do
to
that right
those pieces that were there was the conversation about that wall that says Brook Pond
Right.
going up the hill. I mean,
Yeah,
And that was phase two.
Okay.
We're still in phase one, which was
Oh,
restoring these
okay.
Restoring
pieces.
this piece.
Right.
And then looking at Firth in its entirety and what the art opportunities are there
You know,
inclusive of,
That's phase two.
you know.
I would propose that we bring it back for that as a discussion, because in truth, even now, and if, with the weather and winter
Yeah,
it's
it's
going,
nothing
so
gonna happen.
it's not like we have this deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it would be nice to give an artist an
Well, that-
opportunity to think
But if-
about.
To think
Well,
about
that
it.
you still have a whole lot
Yeah.
of time to think about it in the RFP. I'm just saying, we don't have to all of a sudden discuss it tonight,
No.
make a decision to get the RFP out.
No.
That's why-
You guys
Okay.
have talked about also having two RFPs, one be
Yeah.
for one piece and one be for another.
But
Yeah,
another
that's
piece.
true.
Two
Yeah,
separate.
true.
So they
So
could
this
do
is all
totally
part of this
different,
discussion.
say,
We're not gonna do it
say
tonight.
whatever,
It's true.
Spray paint stuff.
Yeah. That's true. I had
So
the,
let's just make part of the agenda.
Yeah, so do we want to agendize it for January or February?
I would do January.
January.
Like, what else is
Well,
on our
when are they-
agenda for January?
Are we doing the full review of the master plan in
Probably.
January?
So, yeah,
Maybe
and then maybe
February?
February.
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 Okay.
Okay, perfect. You have some time to think about it too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Glad
Yeah,
it's
Maybe we'll
specific.
send,
Yeah.
send some like prompting questions
Yeah.
and start thinking about it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Especially since you'll push so hard on that last deadline.
I had,
Yeah.
I had that, I was hired to do that ages ago. Yeah, all the plans and ready to go. Not gonna happen.
I was thinking you were talking about the baby. I was hired, I was like, they
Baby's
hired you to
adorable.
do what for the baby?
No.
Because my whole attention is here now, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Okay, so. How's our stairway project going? Exciting on the stairway front too. Contracts are fully executed and signed, so
Yay.
they're locked in.
Right.
And they're both very excited about.
I'm really happy.
So.
Had the Ducket about collaborating.
Yes,
Okay.
and they've talked.
Okay.
So
Oh, good. That's
they're,
what we
they're
want.
both ready to collaborate
Yeah.
and figure out how they can integrate one into the other. And
That's
so
cool.
that's really the next step is kind of refining the design for both artists. And I
Mhm.
think because it is such a timely, time-sensitive project, we really want to nail that down. So my suggestion would be to bring that in January, put it on the
Yeah.
agenda. Invite the artists to come so that we can work through what the design details are gonna be. And then they can kind of draft that up from there. Just being mindful of the public engagement process, if that would be a key opportunity for the public to come and give input. So we would want to make sure that we promote that kind of far and wide, so that they know that they can attend that meeting and provide. Whatever.
Alright, so Kingdom Pipeline is up there today digging holes and doing
Oh,
stuff, which was
I
exciting.
have a question about the neighbors. Have the
Here we
neighbors
go.
weighed in on this project and?
They've had opportunities to do so. I know that they've spoken with members of the public works team.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just lighting and.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right.
So, yeah, my suggestion would be to agendize that for
We
January.
could just pass them around.
Pass the baby.
Yeah, pass the baby. And then he's a little dog.
But we're not quite done.
That's like in the middle of the night.
So our January meeting will be a hefty one.
So,
Okay.
I would say given that,
Yeah.
then, you play by ear whenever to bring Firth back,
Okay.
because I have a feeling that's gonna roll over.
Yeah.
Some of that will roll over
Yeah.
into February and
But we do need,
But we
we have
could
a
check in.
timeline, yeah.
But not for first though.
Oh, not for first,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm
So
thinking of
we
the other
could
one.
check in maybe
Yeah, yeah.
on, in January meeting and see if it's appropriate.
Yeah,
to
if
do
not,
from
yeah, we can bump it to
February.
March or whatever.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I
Okay,
just wanna
perfect.
go out and see the turtle and I feel like so.
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
My
First
feet haven't been
finger.
up the hill. Mhm.
Very cool.
I know, I'm so glad it was really falling apart.
I know.
Much better. I think we're up to public comment.
Yeah, we haven't had any written public comment and no one has joined us in person or on Zoom.
Okay. So then I guess we're at the end of this meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for the 20th, January 20th,
Getting back to that schedule of the third Monday.
5:15. Okay.
Oh, when,
When-
sorry.
Exact date is the ending for those who are supposed to reapply.
It's 10 or 11?
I guess my
Yeah,
question
the
is,
tenth or eleventh.
for those who don't know, I'm not going to be reapplying for this, for the next time. This would be year number 6, so I think it's fine.
And I think I will apply because I really wanna see this
Good.
project. be completed.
Yay.
Okay,
Excellent.
That and cafe.
yeah, that's great, and I feel that I can be just as effective off. as I-
Yes, yes.
I don't feel like I need
We
to.
would love you
be
to jump
committed.
in and,
So I feel like I could come and sit when I wanted.
Yeah.
and hold the baby.
And so I guess my
Hold the
question
baby
is,
folder.
yes, hold of it. Oh, God, yes. My question
Are you
is,
sure you're resigning?
am
now?
I here in January? My question is, when's my last meeting?
I,
Think it would be your last meeting.
Would be January? I don't know.
My
That's my
understanding in the
question.
past with like Park and Rec Commission has been that until new people are appointed and seated.
Yeah, so,
that
um,
I think
existing members
January, you'll
remain.
Oh,
probably.
just tell me.
Cause it closes, but then you have to.
So you have to
That's
vote
okay.
and
I
they're
just,
in
I just
the
didn't want to show up and someone
Yeah.
say, excuse me.
Can't be your last meeting today.
No.
No.
We would
Well,
need to
January
think.
20th is my birthday, so there's no way I would be here whichever way.
Oh,
things go.
January 20th.
oh, mine is the
So
19th.
just
I
pass this
know.
along.
okay.
Okay.
Cool. So I guess we are adjourned.
Oh, yeah.
I just have to say, I noticed, like, I don't know, the past couple of weeks,
Oh, yeah.
when I am
Lucky
on the
guy.
freeway, that I can